In the upcoming 2020 elections, we're going to hear a lot about guns. They're going to tell us how dangerous it is for our children to go to school because of guns, and that we need more laws on gun ownership for the sake of the children. But they won't talk about other issues that affect a lot more children, like mental health, child trafficking, and child abductions. Did you know there are 800,000 children who go missing in America every year, more than 40,000 of which who are kidnapped by non-family members? The number of children injured or killed in school shootings are a tiny fraction compared to those numbers. Don't be fooled by the lie that the leading gun control advocates are worried about our children. They're not. About 115 children a year are injured or killed in school shootings. That's not good. But about 200 children a week are kidnapped and sexually assaulted. Do you see any outrage from the left about that? The gun control debate is not about keeping our children safe. If it was, we'd be allowed to have a conversation about trying to protect them. But they don't want to have that conversation. Even though our political leaders are protected with guns, and the Hollywood elite are protected with guns, and our banks are protected with guns, somehow protecting our children with guns is out of the question. Unless those children belong to a political leader, of course. Then it's acceptable. Like so many issues that Democrats say they care about, there is a huge contradiction when it comes to guns. They claim that Trump is the next Hitler, that he's an evil racist who's out to destroy everyone who isn't white. Then at the same time, they want to make it harder for citizens to protect themselves. If you haven't noticed, their side is chock full of contradictions. They brag about Obama getting bin Laden, but they don't believe in the death penalty. He didn't even get a trial, but they're still upset about Guantanamo Bay. Or they boycott radio stations that play the song Baby It's Cold Outside, but don't mind songs from Snoop Dogg and many artists like him who talk about popping caps and slapping hoes. Or they fight for a $15 an hour minimum wage for themselves while supporting illegal immigrants being paid well below that to pick our strawberries for us. You see, there isn't any consistency with their positions because they're not honest about what they want for America. The positions they take on an issue only reflects how they think they can best beat their opponents. That's it. That explains their fear-mongering, that explains their identity politics, and that explains how they can take an issue like the border wall that they supported just a decade ago and now claim that it's racist and xenophobic. The truth is, them saying Trump is the next Hitler or that gun control is about protecting children are both lies. And it's easy to see because you can't honestly hold both of those views. You can't be afraid that the most powerful man in the world is about to systematically kill millions of Americans, and at the same time want to take away the right that those Americans have to protect themselves. That doesn't make sense. If outlawing guns stopped another school shooting from ever happening again, it would not be worth it if it allowed millions of people to be marched to their deaths, would it? And that's how we know that they're lying. History is crystal clear when it comes to gun control. The first national gun control legislation was the National Firearms Act of 1934, then the Federal Firearms Act of 1938, both done under Democrat President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Next was the Gun Control Act of 1968, signed by Democrat President Lyndon B. Johnson. In 1986, the Firearms Owner Protection Act was signed by Republican President Ronald Reagan. Then in 1993, Democrat President Bill Clinton signed the Brady Handgun Violence Prevention Act, and in 1994, the Public Safety and Recreational Firearms Use Protection Act. That was known as the Assault Weapons Ban. And lastly, during Republican President George W. Bush's 2 terms, was the Tiahrt Amendment in 2003 and the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act in 2005. Now here's what history shows us. Legislation under Republican presidents have been to protect gun rights. And under Democrat presidents, it's been to limit gun rights. And as you can see, it didn't start recently, and it didn't start because of school shootings. Isn't it strange that child trafficking isn't on their list of issues, and child abduction isn't on their list of issues, or the problems in our foster care system aren't on their list of issues? And that's something government is already in charge of. Those issues affect hundreds of thousands, if not millions of children every year. And yet they focus on the 100 or so kids injured or killed in school shootings instead. And we're supposed to believe that proves that they care about the welfare of our children. Look, they'll exploit any tragedy or issue that they can for political or ideological gain. But that also means that they'll ignore any tragedy or issue or solution that they think hurts them politically. School shootings are an issue that we have to deal with, and we want to talk about solving that issue. But what we're not going to put up with is them standing on the graves of children to push their long-standing gun control agenda. And that's the simple truth. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel, and if you want to become a supporting member of Blue Collar Logic, click on the link in the description and give what you can.